Okay, so we're live. Welcome, Jim Charles, who channels Take Care from the Girkfitneer Alliance and other wonderful benevolent beings. Hi, Charles.
Hi.
And we also have Susie Bieler, who channels Prime Creator, and her lovely partner, Max Haver, who is a very spiritual person and helps Susie, and they're together here with us today. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a lot of interesting topics to cover today, starting from how ET species are becoming part of Earth, and they're visiting us and they're talking to us, communicating. So these guys are experts on this. So that's what we're going to start off with first. So Jim, how does that work for you?
Okay, Girkfitneer has a specialized way of dealing with the world because they want to make a beautiful a communication with the Earth and with the political agendas that are here. So they have 3 meetings a year with you, the Earth politicians, and they are working with the Earth and following their rules as not to interfere with their lives so that they can bring us into a new understanding and into the neighborhood of the galaxy. So at this point, the governments are not too willing to move this direction fully, but they are making a lot of inroads with their trading information, mostly medical, and they're trading ideas and letting them know what life is like outside of the Earth and learning about what life is like on the Earth and the different cultures, species, and understandings. There are definitely other species on the Earth living there, but with Girkfitneer, they're following specific rules and regulations that the governments have put down so that they can make a very benevolent entrance onto the planet, and showing them that they're not invasive and they're not trying to take over, they're not trying to usurp any authority whatsoever, but they want to be here to help and actually guide in some ways us through the ascension, the next steps of evolution and things of that nature. And so they are just listening to and working with us. They are also working to help us with heavy weather, with chemtrails, with seismic and volcanic events. They're calming things down. If you will notice, with the last few storms in the United States or in Canada, there's been a lot less life lost than usual. And the reason is they're trying to move people out of the way as best as they can to keep, to preserve the life on this planet. They want this timeline to continue. And they know that it has been said this timeline will continue. However, they feel it needs some help. So they are doing that for us. And they have the blessings of the governments to do so, to do these things, because it's not interfering with actual individual lives or people. So they are doing the best they can without being invasive or intrusive at all. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And Takar is one of my major forms of communication with the Girkfitneer. Of course, I know many from the ships around the United States. So they do talk to us and give us medical advice and help some people with some medical problems, and they're very effective. They're becoming much more effective with the human body. They're learning more about it. So it's a beautiful relationship, really.
And what is the Girkfitneer Alliance made of? Who's in the alliance?
Okay, that is the Lyrans, the Arcturians, the Pleiadians. There are several different forms of Pleiadians. These are the tall blues Pleiadians, the friendly reptilians, and the Fendorians Did I leave anybody out? I think I'm the Yale. Yes.
Oh, excellent. And what does Takir look like?
Takur is 8'7" tall. She's a Lyran female. She looks a lot like a cat in the facial area, except that there's no hair on the cheek areas or the forehead or down through this area, but there is hair very close to the skin all the way around. They don't have very big ears anymore, and the tails are also being evolved away because they don't need them any longer. So the ears, you can hardly see the ears, and the tail is probably just very small at this point. I really didn't ask, but she said that those things were evolving away because they use so much. They don't need to be highly heightened in their senses for listening any longer because they're no longer predatory for thousands of years. So
They're more telepathic now, right?
they're more telepathic and yes, I'd say more telepathic, and sometimes some of their species are now psychically speaking to one another. So they speak to one another psychically at some points, but they still use communication with the mouth and the voice.
And how long has the Gurkfitnir Alliance been helping the Earth? How long have they been here in our space?
I think since about 2007 or 8. It's never quite clear to me exactly when they started to help. They've been around the Earth longer than that, but they started helping around 2007 or 2008.
What about the L race? How long have you been channeling them, and what are they like?
I've only been channeling the L for a little over a year. The first time they came through, I was working with Reiki on the seashore up near the lakes, or the lake shore. And they came through, and the first thing they said was, "This creature's vision is really bad." And I go, "Well, who's that? You know, who's talking?" And then they started telling Max Steinberg, who is the guy who I started channeling with originally, and I was doing Reiki on him when I first started channeling. But we were at a Reiki share where there was a lot of people, so it freaked a couple people out that they came through then. But that was one of their first appearances. They really weren't invited to come in. They just had a message, so they came in and gave it and left. So
and what do they look like sometimes when you channel them?
The L are very, very high spiritual. They're in a very high dimension. They never say what dimension they're in, but I get that they're just below the God dimension because they are from God, of God. They are doing the will of God in the galactic sense, but they have specific chores that they are given, like sometimes financial, like you said that they were early builders of the universe and things. So they are engaged by God for different tasks, but they are a communal system. They're a community that speak for. If one of them is speaking to you, the whole community is really speaking to you. And it could be any one of the community that speaks to you, but they'll all have the same message when they're talking to the Earth or talking to someone that they need to give a message to. They all unite in their brains and give you the message.
Definitely, that's what I've had in my experiences when I'm up on the Universal World ship, the Ascension, where I communicate with two L females, Anaya and Arena. They're very nice. One is 10 foot tall, the other is 20 feet, and they comprise of an alliance of Pleiadians, Arcturians, Lyrans, Syrians, and some other groups, and they act as a community together. They're definitely a unified community on their exploration ship. So I can definitely, I've experienced that communal type interaction when I'm up there on the ship, or they're telepathically talking to me here. So it's wonderful. And Susie and Max, what are your experiences with ETs or other elemental beings or higher dimensionals?
Oh wow, that was that was a bigger question than I thought. Well, when I first moved to Sedona about 2.5 years ago, I quickly realized that Sedona is an intergalactic hub for communication. And at that point, I wasn't so tuned in and aware to my star brothers and sisters, but I began to put my feelers out. And January of 2015, I made some very specific requests to connect with my star brothers and sisters. And so the Pleiadians came to me first, and then I believe it was the Arcturians and then the Syrians. So the Arcturians I actually had a very profound experience with. They, when I did sound healing, they wanted me to channel through my toning. And so I was at a church one morning, and I'm sitting there in my seat getting ready to do my thing, and all of a sudden the Arcturians say, "Okay, we would like to come through your toning." And I'm like, "Oh, well, what? Well, what?" They're like, "Don't worry, just do your thing, do what you normally do, just let it flow, and we'll just come through." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I allowed, and it was a very powerful, very, very different than what I normally did, and the people in the audience were like, "Wow, that was quite powerful." So I have a very what I would call intimate, very heart-centered relationship with the Arcturians, and they create the halos that they give me the designs for the halos that I create, and I have an Arcturian doctor named Rethius that comes to me and assists me in transitioning into my light body, because I process everything through my body so much. Sometimes it takes quite a toll on my physical being. So I asked for assistance, and Rethius came to me to assist me with shifting and healing and raising my frequencies and new DNA and new organs, and all of these things that the Arcturians assist us with. And the Arcturians, I'm understanding, just have such high technology, and when Rethius comes in, he lets me know he's there, and then it's like he disappears into my field, and I go to sleep, and I don't really know too much what happens, but it's so gentle, and it's like he's highly skilled. It's amazing. So that's been my most recent experience. And here in Sedona, there's a lot of ships, and so sometimes I see a few, not as much as I'd like to, but I feel them more than anything, more than I see with my actual physical vision. I feel. I'm a deep feeler, so I feel my star brothers and sisters. I feel them with me, and gosh, I'm just excited for the time when we can walk the earth together and hang out and use those technologies that they have in a more tangible way, because it's great getting the energetic and etheric forms, but gosh, there's so many people who can benefit on this planet from the technologies that they have. Mm-hmm. And then the other part of your question, the elementals, I'm very close with the fairies and the sprites, and just the other day I was at a creek sitting on a rock, and I feel this splash on my upper back, and I'm like, I was a little startled. I was like, what was that? And my friend was watching me, and she pointed behind me. She said, "There's some sprites back there splashing you." And it was just so much fun. So I don't tune in to any of the energies of, ETs coming here and they're going to take over and all of that. That's not the realm I live in at all. I don't connect with that at all. I could maybe use the word believe. I don't even believe that that's what's going to be happening. It's just not the realm that I live in. So that's me. Anything you want to share?
I've had a few experiences with some galactic energies or entities, and I haven't exactly always been able to identify the source because my ability to perceive energy is a bit more limited. And so I've had a few dreams with, I think I visited Bashar in one of my dreams. He directed me to one of my guides, and then had a dream with, I think it was a 7-sided golden UFO. That was an interesting one. I wasn't sure what origin that is, but it was an interesting, unique UFO I saw in that dream. There was one where it was there was an entity in one of my dreams teaching me some sort of, or conveying some sort of energy of a type of meditation type energy. And when I came out of the dream, I could see is like a spotlight on the wall, and it had a physical, tactile presence of energy. And as it moved away, it made that stereotypical sort of UFO sound, and I was like, why, like that, that sort of visual conveyance. But what was unique was it was outside of my dream, and I had that tactile, spatial energy sensation of that being, of that presence. So that was my most direct contact with the being, as far as Galactus go. And also, you channeled Lord Arcturus once?
Oh, that's right.
That's right. You did channel. That's right. Okay, see. And
yeah, that's a fun story.
Yeah, and so during that channeling, I actually had the sensation of like an energetic cloud underneath the soles of my feet, and my legs lifted straight up in front of me. And
his feet were like knocking against my knees, and I'm like, I'm in this zone. I'm like, why are you kicking me? You know? I didn't realize it wasn't on purpose, and you didn't have control of your body.
So at the end of it, my feet just dropped straight down, and I was just enjoying it. I was just going with it, enjoying that levitation energy for a moment. Yeah.
Well, it's quite interesting because the Arcturians, their ships are actually sometimes cloaked in clouds. Mm-hmm. So, or in a kind of a whirlwind thing. So,
are those the ones that I see?
Yes, probably yes.
Okay, because I see cloud ships all the time here, and when I see these clouds, and I'm like, "There's the ships."
Yeah, exactly. And one of their biggest ships, Starship Athena, is always cloaked around Mount Shasta either in a whirlwind or a cloud. And they often communicate through dreams first. That's how ET contact is initiated, through dreams, and then it becomes more telepathic, and you become even more awake, like in a lucid dream, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So your experiences are amazing. And Susie, can you tell us that story about how you were in contact with Lord Arcturus?
Oh.
Yeah, we have a mutual friend who actually can see, when she works on someone, she can see like their muscles and their meridians.
And yeah, a lot of physical tissues. She has a vision she can switch to.
And so she was working with someone on the table, and I just felt the presence of Lord Arcturus in the room, and I was like, hey, he's here. And he wants to work with you because of your abilities. He wants to work with you and through you. And so she was like, okay. And then all of a sudden, just, the messages started to come through. And that's when Max started kicking me. Yeah.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience.
What kind of a message did Lord Arcturus have for you guys? Did he say anything or do anything special?
Well, he did some sort of activation on our friend, the third eye. What was it?
It was so long ago. I don't remember.
We have a lot of experiences every day, so.
So what is the general message that Resius gives you, Susie, when he comes in contact with you? Do they ever give you any messages that you can share with us, that are profound or important?
Yeah, it's not as much messages, but just as Jim was talking earlier, I was thinking, maybe I can start to ask him some questions, because he usually just kind of announces his presence, and the first time he came, I felt this being, and I saw with my third eye vision like his head and his eyes and the robe and the collar that he was wearing, and I was like, what's your name? And he told me his name, and I was like, and why are you here? What are you doing? And he was like, I'm a doctor, and I'm going to assist you with your physical body. I was like, cool, thank you. I've been asking for this. Go to it. So the first thing that he did that I remember is he put some filaments along my spine. I don't know what purpose they serve or what they do, but I've just noticed I've had a greater understanding of my body and what it needs since then. And it's a kind of a slow-going evolution because I want to know things quickly, but I've been coming more and more into my body because I travel so many different places. So maybe he's helping me with that. I'm not clear completely, but I will ask him. I think I'll ask him if he can give me more understanding, and specifically, if I am an appropriate channel for him to work through, I would love to be able to get some of these technologies and have an understanding of these medical technologies to be able to use to assist others to heal their physical bodies and to work with others' ascension. So I'm starting to move in that direction to see what's possible with that.
Excellent. And Jim can actually tell you a little bit about these technologies because he knows a person named Tepech who is also with the Group Fit Near Alliance who's a type of a doctor. So he would know about filaments and stuff. Jim, would you like to tell us about that a little?
Well, they don't really talk about their technology on how they heal people. They do scan people and give them infusions of whatever they need, usually. This is how they usually do it: is they get your vibrational reading, and then they do an energy scan on your body. They see what is wrong in the body, and many times people won't tell them that they're hurting in other places. They have one specific need, but they'll pick out all these other areas of the body. They'll say, "Oh, we see that this is also, are your knees hurting? We see there's an inflammation there, or is your feet hurting, or whatever." And all the time they go, "Wow, they picked up the stuff that." They even pick up vitamin deficiencies, and like they'll say, "You have a vitamin B12 deficiency," and they'll go, "How did you know that? My doctor just told me that, just recently." So, but they do pick up on all that kind of information from the scan, and then they put together very little chemistry, but mostly vitamins and minerals and energies that help the body to heal. And they do sometimes use chemistry in medicine, as they call it chemistry. They don't really call it medicine too often, but they do send some chemistry with the vitamins, minerals, and energy that will help to remove whatever. Now, Tepet is still learning and training some assistants because he's the only one that actually does medical of all the people on all the ships. He had studied human physiology and medicine and has visited many of the great hospitals of the world and seen what they're doing technology-wise, and their technology is far advanced, but still they have to be careful because human physiology is different than anything that they're working with on the ship. So
that's why they're not sharing the technology with us?
They have shared it with the governments,
Mm-hmm.
and the governments refuse to share it with the people.
Right. I get that part. But like, someone like you or I who could assist others if the technologies would flow through us.
Yes. The thing is, governments are watching everybody that does channeling. They're watching anybody that does anything extraterrestrial oriented, and they would take it away immediately. They can actually snatch it out of the air on the way to you. So that is why they only give things. I think they've given Ileana a couple things, but they didn't give it to her on Earth. They gave it to her on the ship, and when she came back, she brought it with her. Is that correct?
Yes, I was on the ship swimming in the healing pools, and I
Yes.
got 4 different infusions, and I actually got tours of all the healing facilities.
And they're very big on keeping their people healthy. So, but yes, the other thing about their medical thing is that they're still learning about human physiology in the polishing off their understanding of human physiology, and so they're very careful about the dosages they give of any chemical or energy. So because they want to know, every human is different, of course, and every vibration is different. So they have to sort of make it fit the individual, and that's very difficult for them because, you know, they have so much other stuff that they're doing to actually fit it into the physiology of that one person. So usually the doses are light the first time, and then if that works the first time, then they're a little heavier the second time. And they give it to you in ways that they know that it'll be safe. They're all about safety as well. So it's a wonderful and beautiful thing. They've helped many people with their ailments. Some people I know have, there's a lady that has, as soon as they gave her infusion, she no longer had migraine headaches. As soon as this one lady had an infusion, her hip was healed. There's another lady they're working on now with a hip problem that they're not so successful with quite yet, but it's an ongoing process with them to help humans. So,
what about dentition? Do they have technologies for our dentition?
Yes, but you'd have to be physical on the ship for them to do anything of that nature. So that's the other thing they're working on, getting site to site for medical patients. They're not allowed to do that yet. The governments of the Earth do not want anyone leaving the Earth for any length of time, because if it's discovered, then there'll be problems. At least that's what they say. So site to site is being worked on. That's one of the main things that they're working on now with the governments. They want to be able to bring people to the ships to do training in person instead of just in the astral, because a lot of stuff is not translated well to the body from the astral. It goes right into the subconscious and not to the actual living 3D situation. So they're working on all kinds of things right now. It's very interesting, though, because they're so careful about what they do not to upset our governments.
It's amazing.
And why are they being so careful not to upset our governments? What's the rationale behind that?
Because they want to make a peaceful entrance, and they want to be able to negotiate with them after first contact how they want to interact with us, and how to bring humans to their area and aliens to human areas. And they want it all to be very peaceful, and they don't want to be seen as being disruptive. They don't want to be seen as having any kind of prejudice. So they're following along with these rules just so they have a very good standing with the governments when this finally happens.
Very interesting, and that's what I've been told as well by the Andromeda Council. They don't interfere with human affairs on the planet itself. They just help with security and defense. If Cabal are trying to leave the planet, if some negative species are trying to enter and do something wrong on the planet, they will interject and stop them from coming into the Earth's field or even into our star system. But they're hands-off on the planetary side. What goes on the surface of the planet, they're hands-off totally. They don't
Correct.
interfere. Yeah, so it's kind
Correct.
of...
They're sort of the Security Council of the solar system right now, especially with Earth. They're watching over the Earth and Mars areas and a couple planets around Jupiter and Saturn, which have also life on them. But ours is the big concern at this time.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yes, because that's where the next major event, major evolution event is going to happen is here on Earth. Within the next couple hundred years, we're going to become telepathic, and it's already starting to. This is the beginning of that. That's the beginning of the ascension, or the beginning of the evolution. So some people use those words interchangeably. They're actually a little bit different. Ascension deals more with the spirituality of the situation, where evolution is definitely the physical manifestation of this new element in our systems. The release of the fourth dimensional energy that has been given to us since 2012 is affecting us more and more all the time, and it will eventually evolve our actual bodies into be able to have telepathic interactions. So, telepathic interactions and psychic conversation are two different things, though. You have to realize that. Telepathy is being able to sense what a person is feeling, what the emotion around them is, their state of being, and to be able to help calm that if necessary, or it influences you when you come into contact with one another, which will eventually calm our world down as far as emotions are concerned in some ways, because you won't be able to leave your house in a fit of rage and go out into the street because you'll be accosting people with your telepathic abilities. You'd be like, you'd be running into people and they'd be like, ah, it's just too much. So they'll have to tone them, so they'll have to learn to control different portions of their emotions, but it will become natural. Telepathy will become very natural in a couple hundred years, 170 to 200 years, so it's something you have to get used to, though. But people are starting to experience the beginnings of it now. There was a period of time earlier in the century when you could walk into a room and feel nothing. It was just it seemed static. But now when you walk into a room, the people that have the higher vibrations, the higher fourth dimensional energy released, start to feel what the room is about. Feel the essence of the room. Feel a connection or a rejection of the room. And so this is the beginning of that telepathy. I'm sure you've experienced that already, where you walk into a room and you feel something, and you don't know exactly what that is, but that is part of your telepathy telling you what to expect in that room.
I'm laughing because that's my life every day. I can't not go somewhere and not feel it.
Yes, but a lot of people can. A lot of people can.
Yeah.
But this is the beginning of that telepathic thought process. That's the beginning of it, when you can walk into a room and just feel the room. But you're not going up to people and actually feeling the people yet. But you're feeling the sensation of the room, which is all the feelings put together. So, yes, you're starting to get in tune to a telepathic lifestyle.
Yeah, I think I came in with that.
Yes, it is possible because of the era that we're living in, because the fourth dimensional energy in the brain was released 2021, December 21st. It was opened up. That was the beginning. People say nothing happened that day, but it did happen. It was the very beginning of the ascension and the very beginning of that evolutionary step.
Exactly, and we're perfectly in. Let's talk about ascension then, because we've segued into this topic. So, Susie, why don't you talk about ascension from your point of view and the healing of the body and that stuff? Because I know it's very important to people right now to figure out what ascension is, what it does, how it works, and what it means to people.
Yes.
I have a fairly simple definition. It's simply the raising of your vibration and frequencies with the heart. So it's not strictly a scientific, something you can measure to see where your frequencies are now. It has to be that heart connection, or else, it's just a scientific reading. So like Jim was saying, it's a very spiritual process. For me, it's a very spiritually led journey. And for me personally, as I've opened my heart, that's when this ascension path has become a lot clearer to me. So I don't know what else to say. It's pretty simple. I mean, there's a lot of things we can say about it, but it does involve, okay, this is important, it does involve looking at your stuff.
Yeah.
Anything that triggers you, anything that is of lower density within you. As we ascend, those lower density emotions, those lower density memories within ourselves, the trauma that we've been carrying, any of that stuff, we can't take that with us into higher frequencies. So all of that stuff comes to the surface as we're ready to look at it, release, and transmute it. That's very important in the ascension path. And I've used the violet flame as a very effective tool for my accelerated ascension. For a year, I was very, very disciplined with using the sacred flames. And at that time, there were 7 that I worked with, and now I just use what we call the sacred fires of the unified heart flames. But the violet flame in particular has been very powerful for me in transmuting and assisting the release of these lower density things within my being. So I'm not perfect, I'm not there yet, I'm still working on it, I'm still on the journey. Along with that is, now everyone's wired differently, so I'll just share what has been my experience, because living with Max, I have realized that everyone is wired quite differently, and what he can do with his body, I can't get away with in my body. So for example, for me, I need very clean, high vibrational food, fresh, pure, organic. I can't do a lot of wheat and sugar and, heavier, denser foods. It doesn't work for my being. Max has this magic like armor thing that as soon as something comes into his field, it's transmuted and it's safe for him to eat. It's amazing. I'm a little jealous, but that's not me. My path, I need to be very, and I want to be very honoring of what my physical body needs. So, and there are a lot of people like me who, with the sensitivities in the digestive system and the sensitivities as, telepathy or emotional sensitivity, however you want to call it, the more we can honor our bodies, the more that will assist in our ascension path. Because we are in a human form, we do need to honor the physical body. And for my path specifically, I know that I am going towards dematerialization, and so I need to master my physical body. I need to know what it needs, when it needs it, and to have this intimate understanding of the physical body, a very close, intimate relationship. And so that has a lot to do for me with food and healing and releasing any cellular memories, any cellular trauma. I had chronic fatigue syndrome. I've been in lots of accidents. There's a lot of potential for for deep cellular trauma to want to hold on in my physical body. But in my ascension path, I have to release all of that and be open to infinite possibility and to know with absolute certainty that I can heal anything. I'll just share this and then I'll pass it on to Max. I didn't think I had much to say about it, right? I was working on a farm one day, and I was carrying these pieces of wood in my arms. And when I went to the place where I was going to set them down, someone took the wood and slid it out of my arms, and it cut my skin, and there was a little blood and whatever. And I'm on the farm, so I don't have much available to me, so I'm just, it wasn't too bad, so I just kept working. And then about 10 minutes later, I just had this curiosity. I was like, well, it's interesting. It doesn't really hurt that much. Let me just look to see what's going on. And I looked down, and it was completely gone. And I was like, oh, it must have been the other arm. So I looked at the other arm. Nothing. Within 5-10 minutes, it had completely healed. And it showed me again, the human body is capable of anything. It's amazing. And so that's part of the ascension, what our human bodies will be able to do and how we will be able to move in and out of the human body is incredible. And if we can open our minds to that, wow, then we're going somewhere.
So my understanding of ascension and the process is definitely in line with raising the vibrational frequency, working through your inner work, releasing dense energies, understanding and learning and integrating those energies in a high vibrational manner. And also choosing. It is a very conscious choice to go through this process. Not everyone on this planet is choosing that, and at some point they'll transition either into another timeline or by death, however that is for them in their experience. And ascension itself, I delineate it in two sort of terminologies. There's ascending, which is increasing your vibration and being on that path, and then there's ascended, which is a market or step increase in vibrational frequency, which is also associated with a greater capacity to navigate experience. So associated with telepathy, teleportation, those sorts of abilities. So that's sort of my general understanding of ascension, going into higher densities, or less dense, however you want to phrase that, higher dimensions, closer to the core aspect of yourself, closer to that soul matrix energy of your being. So that's my understanding of ascension in a simple manner.
And also realizing your truth and who you are as a being here on Earth and outside in the galactic space. Remembering, a lot of people are starting to remember who they are, what they were in their previous lifetimes. Some people are seeing the future, experiencing teleportation. I've had an email from one person. They said, well, I was just walking down the street and near this little forest, and then I bilocated, like physically, the person disappeared and ended up in another location. And they were wondering, what's that? How did that happen to me? And that's teleporting yourself physically from one place to another because you worked on yourself, on your spiritual, on your physical journey, emotionally, everything you worked on. So you get these abilities that are activated because you've been transmuting anything that's not of the highest good for you. You've been transmuting that and going from maybe a negative polarity to a more positive polarity in your thinking, in your health, and then you're able to suddenly do these things you never thought you could do in this more denser density we're in. But we're not so much in that density anymore because we're shifting into the fourth and the fifth dimension, so to speak, in this evolution cycle.
And a point on that is that it also relates to the crystalline DNA as it shifts, because crystals, in their structure, in their energy flow, are able to actually change how much mass and energy they flow. And so they're able to transition into multiple densities. So that's part of why that crystalline DNA is related to that process.
Exactly, and that crystalline DNA is now being more fully activated in our human physical bodies because we're 80% water, and in that 80% water there's crystal minerals in that which are growing and vibrating at higher frequencies now. So, and that's activating parts of our brains as well and our heart with these telepathic abilities and other abilities. So this is quite interesting. That's another part of the ascension or evolutionary process we're going through or starting to go through. Some people, and it's different for people, it's different levels. And as you awaken to your truth, to who you are, you start to manifest these things on different levels. For some it's lower, for some it's higher, then it goes like this. It balances itself out.
I'd like to share something that actually people might want to try. Max was given a piece of pure silicon, and this piece changes its mass. You'll be holding it, and it'll be super light, and all of a sudden it'll be like really heavy in your hand. And so we've been working with it, and I feel like it is giving us codes and information about dematerializing and being able to change our mass, and it's pretty neat. So maybe that's a tool that people could work with if they want to be working with those kinds of experiences of teleporting and materializing and dematerializing and those things.
And what is a piece of silicon? Just to clarify.
Yes.
Pure silicon.
Pure silicon? What is that? I'm not familiar with it.
I wish we had it with us.
It's just an element. It's what number on the periodic table?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Somewhere.
It looks kind of silvery. It has a silvery kind of color, and you can see it has structure, like little square kind of sacred geometry structure in it.
Yeah.
Where can you get one?
I'm sure you can find it online. It was a gift from a friend, so.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, or
online.
Yeah.
So crystal shops are online, and you just type in silica or silicon.
Silicon. Yeah.
Okay.
It's pure. So it's not a quartz or anything like that. It's just 100% silicon.
Okay, and Jim, you had something to say as well?
Well, it's sort of off the subject now. But I was going to say, the more you become yourself, the more you relate to your true self and who you are in your soul connected to God, the more abilities you have, the more purity you have, the more opening of your brain. We only have a little bit of the brain open. There are so many gifts in the brain. Transportation, growing new limbs. There's a million of them that we haven't tapped into yet because we haven't become who we are in God yet. So as we move closer to who we are in God and become the true person that we are, and that's not to say that anything's forbidden, because God is not a hateful or negative being in any way, shape, or form. But we just become open to these greater gifts and greater understandings. So just become who you are in your uniqueness, because everybody's unique. Everybody's different than everybody else. I mean, and you have your own gifts and your own special things that you can do for the earth, and your own special understandings and own special perceptions that can help the earth. So the more you become yourself, the greater the gifts you have.
Thank you, Jim. And I also wanted to, you just dropped in the piece about the earth. This ascension process is something that we are doing in collaboration with Gaia.
Oh, yes.
She is also ascending, so I think it's worth talking about that as well.
Yes.
For the first time this week, actually, I channeled Gaia. She was very strong within my being, wanting me to share a message. So I was like, okay. But one of the important messages that came through was that she's committed to her ascension, and that she is doing this in collaboration with humans. And so humanity plays a very important role in this ascension process because we have chosen to do this together. And humanity has chosen it, Gaia has chosen it, we've chosen to do it together. So it's a very special relationship. And again, it's very heart-centered because it is Gaia's heart. As she ascends, it is her heart that she is making this commitment from for her ascension and to work with us as we do it. So she offered her support, and all we have to do is just ask for her support. And the unique way that she can help us is because she is in material form and we are in material form, she can give us that physical support. So what we were talking about earlier with our galactic star brothers and sisters, you know, assisting us in the astral planes, and then it doesn't always translate into the physical. Gaia can translate into the physical because she is physical with us. And so that's a unique support that she gives us, and we just have to ask for it.
And there is physicality in other densities and dimensions, but it's the direct resonance that Gaia has here with us, being in the same plane, being on the same frequency with us as we're going through this. So.
Exactly, and we are our own creator beings. We are able to, now that these higher dimensional densities are coming into the planet with energies and waves, we're able to access those energies and waves and manifest things more quickly from the etheric upper levels down here on the physical levels. Like our intentions, as long as they're positive and of the highest good, we can physically manifest from the etheric down here on the physical level what we need to help ourselves. That's another part of the ascension process, at least for me, what I've been experiencing, because I've been quickly transmuting energies and manifesting into the physical what's really important to me, like good health, prosperity, happiness, all of those things and other things. Yeah. It's happening a lot faster now to be able to do this.
And once you're in tune with Gaia, she's a healer also. She helps the body to heal. She's in tune with the body. If you have great allergies, if you become really in tune with Gaia, why should you be out of sync and be allergic to anything that's part of Gaia? Because she is our health in that way. So get in tune with the earth around you, lay on the ground, walk on the ground, connect to the ground and to nature, and she can help you with your allergies. You may go, oh, I can't go outside. I'll be like, eh. But Gaia is a healer of these things because she is these things in many respects, and she can help you to heal these things.
Yeah. And a very powerful way to do that is to get in some flowing water, because the negative ions that come from the flowing water, if you have bare feet especially, come in through the soles of our feet up into our body to assist us in balancing our physicality. So if there's a creek, a stream, a river, an ocean, anywhere you can get flowing water, that will amplify those negative ions even more.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Or even going up to a tree, if you feel energetically drained because of something, you feel tired, stressed, you can go outside and you can touch a tree and have positive thoughts. That way you touch the tree and you get an energetic infusion of energy to you coming to your body from the tree. And the earth is taking away your tiredness because you're physically grounding with her. And you're getting energy from the earth and from the tree because everything on the earth is a living life force that has a lot of energy. So that can help you as well. Taking off your shoes and just sitting on the grass, putting your feet in some soil as well, in some clean organic soil, that will uplift your energies tremendously. And that's very, or planting things, like growing things, organic food, flowers in your backyard or in communal gardens, like being in touch with nature, growing things that are organic, it really uplifts your energy as well.
And there's been some scientific research about how the microbes in soil interact with our bodies and with our skin to help those neurotransmitters transmit the right things. So it's very powerful. And also I'd like to add, I'm a big fan of asking for assistance. So when I go up to the tree, I ask, can you assist me? Whatever I need, grounding or upliftment, whatever it is. And when I go up to the flower to smell it, can you assist me as I breathe in your fragrance? Because when we ask, it elicits that, oh yes, I want to help. This is what I have to offer you. So whenever we ask, it kind of amplifies what we can receive back.
Yeah, it's an engagement of that energetic connection. It's that bridging, that receiving, that openness. Yeah.
Any signs and showing of appreciation and thanks are always a great trigger for a response, for them to come back and help you. If you say thank you so much for your great smell or that you have great vitamin potential, it amplifies that result.
Yeah.
For sure. Or I feel blessed. I feel blessed to have been in your beautiful, energetic presence. Thank you so much. Namaste. That's great too.
Yes. Love it.
Susie, you wanted to mention something and I sort of interrupted you. Sorry.
When I was sitting on that rock and the sprites were flashing me, I just was like really enjoying it. I wanted to see them, but I didn't, so I was like, well, I'm just really going to enjoy this energy. And the more I was in gratitude and fun and play, the more they splashed me. So it's just this fun interaction. I love the gratitude piece that Jim mentioned. That's really powerful too.
Absolutely.
And it's feeling the joy and happiness and love of being in nature, of connecting and grounding with Gaia. Those positive feelings are amplified when you're outside, breathing the fresh air, being out in the country, near water, near the beach. It's really healthy for you because you're bringing in, you're breathing in fresh air. You're bringing in literally positive energy to help yourself align and ground with the earth.
Definitely.
And just a tip for those, if it is a day where there's chemtrails being sprayed overhead or whatever, and you want that fresh air, to just make the intention. I breathe in the cleanest, purest, freshest air, and everything else gets filtered out as I breathe in. And that can be a very powerful exercise so that we're not walking around in any fear or any lower vibration because of something that's happening out there. We don't need to be having our vibrations lowered and be powerless because of something that's happening out there. That we're powerful and we can claim our power in that way.
Exactly, and same with food. Sometimes people don't have access to the most organic food that they could find. So even if your food is not totally organic, you can say, I cleanse and purify this food for the highest good and intention for my body to be able to eat this food of the positive energy. And that way you're protecting your body and you're purifying your food so it becomes organic energetically, and you can absorb the food with the nutrients and everything, even though it's not totally organic. Just by putting out positive thoughts and intentions into your food or water, you can purify it so your body can take it in and it would be safe for you.
Ileana, can I have Max share a prayer that he says?
Sure, of course, yes.
Well, every time before he eats, he blesses his food, and it's really beautiful. Would you share it with us?
The whole thing?
Yeah. May this food.
All right. May this food be blessed and imbued with the highest vibrations of light, love, wisdom, magic, power, feeling, knowing, connection, perception, expansion, growth, truth, clarity, fun, joy, play, ease, grace, comfort, health, wealth, happiness, creativity, inspiration, expression, nutrition, nourishment, benevolence, beauty, and bliss. for the physical bodies, mental bodies, emotional bodies, energy bodies, spiritual bodies, and light bodies, and all layers and levels and aspects of the self, soul, and being.
And mine is a little more simple. I just ask that my food be transmuted to the nutrients needed by my body, and that my food be transmuted to the frequencies needed by my body.
Beautiful.
This is recorded, right? So we can go back and listen
Yes,
to it.
you can go back and get it. That's good.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
those kinds of prayers you should be saying every day anyway, just to spirit and to the world and to Gaia and to they're the kind of prayers that just help you immensely to be part of everything and to make everything okay. You know, to bring it all into the right standing in your life. So that's beautiful.
As well, if you're feeling down or low for some reason, you can say to yourself, I cleanse and purify myself for the highest good to bring in the most positive energies that are beneficial to me. My body is healthy, my body is happy, my body is cleansed and purified. This is for my highest good. Thank you, namaste. And that raises your vibration and gives you a good dose of energy, of positive healing energy. It's a little healing thing that I say to myself if I'm feeling low on energy or tired or whatever. Or also, if you're having a bad thought for something, you can say a phrase like, cancel, clear, delete, cancel, clear, delete, cancel, clear, delete 3 times, and it takes away whatever you were thinking, and it just cleanses you. And you're pure and all your vibrational life force energy in your body. Yeah. It's just something I learned on my spiritual journey, and because you can help yourself, and you don't always have to take Western medicine pills. You can help yourself with naturopathic medicines grown from plants and infusions, homeopathy, by eating healthy foods, by drinking water without fluoride in it, mineral water. There are so many different ways you can heal yourself without resorting to Western medicine chemicals, so to speak.
That's why I was talking about the importance of having that intimate relationship with your body, because when you really pay attention to the clues and cues that your body's constantly giving you, then you're empowered, because then you have an idea, oh, this is what my body needs now. Oh, I'm complete with this. Let me move on to this. And it's not always an exact science. It is very intuitive. Or you can go to a practitioner and they can do some science things with you to give you, get your blood work done or whatever. But as you develop that intimacy with your body, you don't necessarily need someone else telling you what you need. You can tune in and ask the body what it needs, and it will tell you. And then it's our job to understand its messages and how it speaks to us and what it's saying. And I've been on that journey for a long, long time, so I sort of have a handle on it. and then sometimes I don't. And Ileana, I'm wondering if it would be okay to talk about my concept of bridge workers and what's happening with some people now in the Ascension process.
Yes, of course. Go for it.
Okay. So I say, and sometimes we don't know what the body needs, because as intimately as I know my body, I'm finding recently that sometimes I haven't had a clue. And so I'll explain why that is. Now, this isn't everyone, but for those who resonate, I feel like it's really important to share. Some of us are here right now on this planet functioning as bridge workers. As we're bringing heaven to earth, as we are ascending and raising our frequencies and vibrations, we're here in a physical body in a human form, but there are many aspects of us that are in other realms doing other things. And so sometimes we're exhausted and we don't know why. And sometimes we feel like part of us is here and part of us is there, and so the physical body needs this, but we don't really want it because it's not resonating, and it almost sometimes can feel like we're split. And what is occurring in my understanding, and this is relatively new for me, so I'm welcome to feedback that anyone has about this, is that we are holding space in other realms as we hold space here, and the goal is to move those realms closer and closer together so that we can experience the shift in heaven on earth. But in that process, sometimes it can be very exhausting. So for those who have very willing souls who like to do lots of things in other realms, it can be very fatiguing to the physical body. And so recently what I've been doing is asking this question, what does it feel like to live in my body in harmony with my soul? Because it felt like my soul wanted to do all of these things, but it wasn't communicating with my physical body. And my physical body was like, wait a second, this is too much. I can't do all this. This is exhausting. And so as I've been asking that question, I've been merging more and more my soul with my physical body so that I can be more present. I can have my energy here. Not to say I'm not doing that stuff in other realms. I still am. But it's much more balanced. And so I use that term bridge worker. It's a light worker who is a bridge from this realm to other realms. So if anyone's experiencing that, you can ask yourself that question. What does it feel like? So you get into the feeling and the energy of it. What does it feel like to live in my physical body in harmony with my soul?
Exactly.
Yeah,
cool.
for sure. I do that all the time because I work with a lot of different benevolent ETs. I go out in space and I look at what's going on everywhere. I measure timelines. I travel everywhere in the universe. And then sometimes I feel when I come back into the human body from the astral journeys or even being beamed up onto the ships physically, because their densities is, I'm never sick when I'm up there because their densities are much higher. So you're always in perfect health, emotional balance when you're up there. And when you come back into the physical, you're a bit tired, you're maybe emotionally drained, you have some nostalgia feelings because you're back on Earth. So I say, I'm extremely blessed and I'm in tune and in balance with my whole body because I'm here to help and do this wonderful work I volunteered for to do it, and I'm a great being who's capable of anything and everything that is for my highest good and for the highest good of the planet and its people. And I say I'm blessed and I'm in harmony and I'm in happiness and in perfect health. And that helps me to feel vibrationally attuned and balanced when I'm on Earth.
I so appreciate you, Ileana, and all that you do for us. Thank you.
And thank you. I appreciate you guys because it's just a blessing to have such beautiful souls come in here and be willing to share their experiences and to talk about this stuff, what's going on and what's happening, how we're changing, how the planet is changing. So this is very important work that we're all doing, and we all volunteered here to help the planet and to learn about this ascension process because it's a very special planet and it's a very special time that we're in. It's a great learning opportunity to explore manifesting things from the etheric into the physicality and learn and play what we are as beings, multidimensional beings, and what we're capable of doing here on this planet.
Yeah. And that we're pioneers in this frontier. This has never occurred before in any of our past lives and in any of our rememberings. This is brand new for all of us in every sense of our being, in every sense of the word. And so we don't necessarily have a manual to guide us. And so that's why I'm so committed to this work, because as much as I can understand, I can share with others, and then that can assist them.
Yes.
So this is my life.
And this is the time when channeling is becoming a greater and greater source of information, because we're bringing in information from the galaxy, from the spirit, from different areas, because we need it now more than ever. Because this is a watershed time. We are either going to exist or not. And I know we will exist. But they are helping us pull this information together, pull ourselves together, and move forward in a greater way, just like you and Max and Ileana are doing. You're traveling in your thought processes. You're willing to open yourself up to the heart and to the mind and to the spirit. And this is what is necessary for the world to change right now. And this is just the beginning, as you said. And the beginning, isn't it the most important part? The beginning is getting that fire burning so that it doesn't go out. Getting that every thought process is starting to click a little bit, to think about some of these things that they never thought about before. Getting them to work together when the world says, take care of your own and forget about everybody else. This is a time where we have to reach out to the world that says they don't want our help, but they really need it, and we have to find a way to communicate that. So it's a very loving and difficult project, but it is one that God has ordained for sure, and put special people like yourselves in charge of. So thank you very much for your willingness and for your usefulness.
And that perfectly brings in the topic of channeling, how it works, what it does, and why are we doing this right now on this planet? Well, what's so important about channeling? Can you guys talk about that from your experiences and what it means to you and what's happening with the channeling?
Sure. For me personally, as I channel and I'm with this immense energy of Prime Creator, it has brought me many upgrades. Because for me to be truly in integrity with the information that's coming through, there's a certain amount of integration that needs to take place within me. And so it has, again, kept me on that accelerated path to keep my frequencies high and what I'm integrating in integrity. So it's been a huge, expansive experience for me. And it has brought me an understanding about timelines. I didn't know a lot about timelines when I first started channeling. And it was a kind of a big lesson because when I first started channeling, it was all about the September 2015 timeline, where there was a big wave of love and light coming in, and some were dematerializing, and souls were going to go into the dimensions in which it was their destiny. And Max and I held that timeline because that's what we were called to do. And then very close to when it was supposed to happen, the timeline shifted. And so there were a lot of people that were disappointed that they were still here and all of these things. But for me, it just helped me understand what timelines are and how they can shift and change based on what our souls collectively are agreeing upon. And so I've had a lot of learning from the channeling, and then also the discernment that comes through different sources of channel information. I'll let Max talk about that at some point because that's very important. Because channeling is more and more prevalent. I'm seeing, maybe it's just because I'm more immersed in it now, but it is something that's going to be more and more useful for us. However, what comes with channeling is the necessity to be discerning about the information that's coming through, and to understand that when something comes through, even if it is pure and of the highest vibration, it can change because timelines are changing all the time. And what Prime Creator shared is that our souls are working with each other cooperatively and collectively to determine the timelines. And so just because something comes through one day, it may change the next day as our souls are navigating this. So it's important to have some awarenesses about channeling, not go into it blindly and believe everything that you hear, everything that you read. There are a lot of nuances.
Yeah, and channeling, I find what's really key with channeling is that it gives a different perspective, a different perception of information. It's a different mirror than what you experience here in this density and dimension. And this different mirror allows you to analyze different angles and aspects of creation and yourself within that, within your experience. And so this helps you a lot with being able to pick what resonates with you from from each and every channeler. You know, some it might be just one phrase. Some people it might be, you know, an entire hour of channeling you feel resonates. Take what resonates with you, because that is relevant to your soul and your path and your experience, and the rest you simply leave and transmute, certainly if there's any energies of convolution or anything that come with that. And so that's, you know, channeling gives you access to a much broader spectrum of information and energies that come through. So that's I think energy is a lot of more so than sometimes the information. Sometimes it's more about the energy, the codes.
Yeah, I mean, the information that comes through me is not 100% because I'm not 100% pure yet. So there's going to be some amount of convolution in what comes through. So my goal is always to be as pure as possible, and then in my day-to-day life, continue my journey of becoming as pure as possible so that as a channel I'm much more clear. And you have probably observed channeled information where it's clear that the energy is convoluted because of the person channeling. And so then there's also the aspect of information from our galactic star brothers and sisters. They have a certain perspective. It's different than ours, it's different than Prime Creator perspective, it's different than my perspective. And so it's important to understand that just because an entity says something doesn't mean that's the end-all and be-all. It's important to understand they have their perspective, even if they're seventh density beings or seventh dimension beings. They have a certain perspective, and they're sharing their perspective. So it's really important to. Can you say more about that?
Oh, I just the term I use for it sometimes is a lens of reality. That you know, through all the layers and levels from their perspective and perception, how everything functions isn't necessarily relevant to your lens of reality that you're currently experiencing.
Absolutely.
To your conditions and your ability to navigate your experience. Yeah.
It's quite interesting to navigate your experience. I recently gotten into doing some channeling with Anea, the L race, and she has a very gentle soul, very loving soul that's here to help the planet. But she always tells me, double check your information that you've channeled or that you've heard other channels. The information you've heard from, double check it to make sure it resonates with you, and if it doesn't, you don't take it in. If it does, you do take it in, and you learn about it, you examine it, you see how it helps you and helps others. So within a message, there could be many different perspectives and much different information as well.
Sure.
Like,
yes,
I just heard that echo, much different information and perspectives. So,
yeah.
Confirmation.
Yes, and you might be channeling a seventh dimensional being, but the information might be only good for the seventh dimension and not good for the third dimension, or not realistic, like you were saying, for this dimension. So the lens of reality is a very nice thought. I like that very much. But also, channeling is also a way of bringing the universe closer together, just as you were talking about bringing heaven closer to earth and bringing the reality of spirituality closer to mankind in a very real way. That's another thing that channeling can do, can open you up to the spiritual realms as well. You channel Prime Creator. I have done some channeling with, he calls himself I Am That I Am, and he is a God creature as well, and he speaks very purely about love and creation and the way that things work on our planet as well as many, many other places. But the spirituality, the purity of the message works, I think, interdimensionally. It's just real pure. It's very simple and very pure. And so that is something that really resonates with me, that the simplicity and purity of it, and what you're saying, the simplicity and purity of your thought processes and how it comes through and you resonate with it are so important. And you know that when other people are moved by it, when other souls are bringing in this thought process and saying, yes, this will help me in my life process. This will help me to move forward in a positive way and help me to shed some of this negativity or shed something that they're fearful of and bring in a pure thought about it and bring in the positive aspects of it. And so I see it as channeling can expand the horizons of humanity in the sense that it is so beautiful, the information, but of course you have to resonate with it. That is so true. And there are messages out there that do not resonate. Some people are looking for those negative resonations because that's what they're into, but I'm more into the bringing in more positive individuals, more positive beings, more positive information, because I think that's the way that we need to move, is in a positive and creative way and not in a destructive or a negative way. So I agree with everything that you said, actually. So it was beautiful.
I also want to add, when the information serves the highest good and when there's a responsibility.
Yes.
So what I mean by that is, we're responsible for what we create and for what we put out there, and Prime Creator talks about, you reap what you sow, and those kinds of concepts. And when there's information coming through that says, oh, you can do whatever you want because this is a playground and this is an earth school and these kinds of things, I would be wary of that, because it is my belief system that we do need to take responsibility for our actions, our thought forms, our creations.
Oh, yes.
And so I put that in there because there is some information out there saying otherwise.
Yeah, and the what is it? I forget. I hit a blank there.
Yes, responsibility is important. And yes, you can do many things, but not everything. I mean, you cannot be out there hurting other people with your words and actions. You cannot be out there tearing down belief systems and trying to make yours the only one. You have to be loving toward everyone. Everybody has to understand that this is coming from the heart. The heart is very important when you're doing your channeling. If you do a meditation beforehand, if you do the beliefs, call in the thankfulness for it to be a pure message and say, keep me out of it. I don't want to destroy the message. I want it to be pure, and I want it to be of a great deal of meaning. Then, yes, you have to go with that.
Yeah, and that's what it was. So how different information resonates for different people because they're on different paths and they're going through different lessons and different things that they're releasing. So sometimes negative things actually assist to bring up these situations for them to work through. So it isn't always a simple one-for-one, there's always that potential for growth and moving forward on the path, even with the mix of positive energies and negative energies. And so that's why the phrase "for the highest good" is always used, because it isn't one type of thing. It's the collaboration of all the energies working towards growth and expansion.
Yes.
Can you also share what you've talked about with me about how when someone channels an entity who's channeling another entity and the convolution that can occur because of that?
So I haven't seen too many channels like that, but where the channeler is channeling an entity which is channeling another entity which is channeling another energy, where it's multiple reflections of energy. I call that what is it? Like a type of convoluted energy where it's trying to misdirect how not just it isn't always the information, but it's sometimes the actual energy coming through. And so to be aware of that, if someone is putting that out there, that there is a type of convolution, at least energetically, if not information.
Oh yes, and it can happen to anyone that's channeling, really. It's happened to me before, where something that came through that was not quite right,
Mm-hmm.
and you stop it, but some of it's already gotten through.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know that it didn't resonate right, so you thank God that it got stopped when it did or whatever. But nobody's perfect, and it can get through. They're sneaky sometimes, but and they can pretend to be coming with a good message, and the message is not that great. So you have to be very careful. And I have to say, it's happened to me, but I've learned to I've learned to, in my meditation beforehand, ask for the purity to come through and keep out all the negativity. And anyone that wants to say something that's not correct, please be mindful and help me to just bring through those entities and creatures that are positive and have a good message. So, because it can happen. It can happen.
Yeah, and even for sometimes when I'm talking to ETs, I'm talking to one council, but my spirit is also talking to another and another, and it's multiple beings at once giving me information and talking to me. So I go, what is the most important thing for me to learn right now or to do right now, and kind of let go of the echo of that conjunction of one entity and another entity talking at the same time, to just focus in on the important aspect and to be able to discern the truth of what's really going on, and to be always aware of who you're talking to, so you don't get that convolution of, you're getting the main source of importance, but you're also getting some interloper who's trying to interfere or, not tell the truth, to skew the message, or, to interfere with the channeling. To just bring it into the highest good, the highest truth, highest honesty and justice for that channeling and that energy and that message to go through for positivity, and be responsible for what you're channeling and how it's physically coming in as well. That it's for the highest good and that it's for the highest positivity of true info coming in. Yeah. Jim, so how does channeling work? Like, how do you connect with these beings?
Well, that's sort of easy, because I started channeling during a Reiki session. I was hearing voices in my head, and I was telling Max Steinberg, or Rempel, whatever, Rempel, whichever name you prefer. He's an author of. When he's an author, he's Max Steinberg. When he's a friend, he's Max Rempel. So I was working with him, and I started hearing voices, and he said, can I ask him a question? I'm making a long story short. There was actually a lot to it, but he said, can I ask him a question? And he did, and I thought they were going to say in my head what the answer was, if at all. But they came right through and started channeling through me. So, but now my channeling is, I can feel them around me. I know certain ones. I know Tukur, I know Lakesh, I know some of the entities. I know Ish. I know who they are and how they feel, and so I know to let them in right away. And I know Grindel, of course, but I now can feel them, and I let them in that way. So that's how, but it started with voices in my head. And the first person that I ever channeled was Deesdu, who was the captain of the ship, of the ship that's going around the North American continent for Grikviknir. And he wanted to talk to Max, but he chose me to channel through. And then others came to me, and I feel very blessed because I didn't even know what channeling was until they came through. So it was like a surprise. I guess my eyes were about this big because he kept saying to me, "It's all right. The information's good. You're fine. Just let it come. Let him talk." Because my eyes were like this big, and I was like going blah 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 blah, and I didn't even understand what I was saying the first time because they were talking science, elements and molecules, and which plants to use for this experiment, and I was like just like freaked out a little bit. But after that, we had a long talk, and he showed me a Bashar tape. And he gave me some Bashar to listen to so that I would know that I was not the only person in the world that this happened to. But now I feel very blessed because a lot of good information is coming, and a lot of beautiful I've made a lot of beautiful friends by channeling and listening, and they were listening to me, like Angie here, that's sitting here listening to us today, is one of my great friends now, and I would have never ever met her if it wasn't for channeling. So, and I don't know what else to say.
So I guess I'll give my okay. For my understanding of how channeling works is on multiple levels. There's the physical ability for an individual to receive, as far as the brain function, the heart function, and the energetic part of it with the open channels of energy for the information to actually come through. And for some individuals, it's going to be more of a etheric technology type energy. For other individuals, it might be more of like a kundalini energy or a chakra energy or a prana central channel energy that they bring information through. For every individual, it's different how they actually connect and bridge that channeled energy. And I think also there's even, well, with mediumship, it's an actual entity actually merging with the energy field entirely. So there's different degrees and delineations of channeling and levels of awareness of the channeler, either totally present, semi-present, or completely in an alternate state, and they get to find out what happened after. So there's a myriad of ways channeling can occur.
And actually, I now can use several different ways because some of them come in differently than others. Spirits seem to come in differently than aliens. Aliens seem to use technology to do their channeling, and they have a different sort of feel when they come in. And some of them, like Lakesh and Grindel, come all the way into the body in like a holographic feeling. Whereas I can feel Lakesh in my body, but I can't feel Grindel. He feels the pain when he tries to squeeze into my body, but he doesn't let me feel it. But he does come in. So, and I know sometimes I'm present, but more times I'm semi-present. And a few times I am not there at all. So they use different modalities to get their message through. If they think that I'm going to be a problem trying to get my information through, they'll push me away. But I ask for that. I want their message to come through as purely as possible. So I will say, leave me out of it as much as possible.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. There are so many different ways, and different beings do come in different ways. So, and training someone to channel is the same. Everyone is different. Everyone brings in a different portion of their brain to channel through, and some of the people need to hear that voice in their head, or feel that around something around their bodies, or feel their chakras being ignited, or emotions or heat or whatever it is that lets them know that there is an entity close by and ready to channel through them. So, and they just, I hate to tell people, anybody to try. I just say let them come. And let them be positive. Do not ask for anybody negative. In fact, if you feel any doubt whatsoever that they're not positive, do not bring them in. Only bring in those ones that you know are positive and feel positively charged for. And so,
Jim, how does someone know that? Someone who's new to channeling, someone who wants to channel, because sometimes they can be deceptive. I don't like to say that,
but they are, yes.
Yeah.
So how does someone discern that?
It's like sensation.
Yes, it's a sensation. You know negativity when you feel it. That's all I can say. Whenever you feel negativity, if there's a negative being around you, you can feel that negativity. If there's a positive creature and being around you, you feel that positivity. It just is part of who you are. It can come in very natural. So, but a lot of people ask that question a lot because they're afraid. You see, a lot of people don't channel because they're afraid of negative energies coming in. But if you pray and get the protection that you need, only the positive energies will come in.
So I'm well versed in that myself, and I'm a very deep feeler. But for people who aren't deep feelers, is that a skill that they should develop before they even go into channeling?
I would think that, yes, I tell some people they need to do some meditations about if they're supposed to be a channel, if that is who they're supposed to be, if that is the calling for them, if that is right and resonates with who they are. Because if it does not resonate with you, if you just want it, but it doesn't really resonate with who you are, then that is not something that's going to happen. It won't happen for them. It just won't happen.
I think it's always very important to do a lot of clearing any kind of dense energy from your energy field before you start, because you can attract with that resonance a denser energy if that's what you're holding in your field still. And it's also, even if it is a positive energy, that dense energy can convolute the information coming through your own field. So it's very, very important to clear energy of all layers of yourself before you.
I believe that's true.
Yeah.
And for when you speak to each individual, what's there. I can feel that when you speak to someone. Can you not feel their density in a sense? You can feel that when they start talking, and you sort of know who they are by what's coming through, what energy is flowing there. So that's part of the teaching process, is like, oh, I can feel that. So you don't say you're bad. You just say you need to do some clearing. We need some bringing in some wonderful meditations, and here's the intention for your meditation is for clearing, for bringing out the positive things within you to resonate with who you really are, with what this means to you, with what it will mean to others. I mean, you can get them into a state of meditations that will help them to realize where they can go next. Because the next step may not be channeling yet. It may be a couple other steps before that.
And I think people should, people who want to channel really should be aware that there is the potential of huge expansive energy come through them and affect their physical body even. And so they should be very aware of these possibilities before allowing
There's so much information about the preparation for channeling. There is a lot because everybody's different and everybody has a different preparation. It's really individualized.
Yeah.
And it's really like how they feel, their belief system works into it as well. Because your belief system has to be in tune with that for it to work. And your belief system has to say, yes, this is something that's right and good. Because I know there are people out there that have been taught that channeling is evil, bad. And so their belief system won't let them get even close to that because it's something that they believe is wrong. So if someone, you have to deal with the person individually as you take them under your wing, and if they do want to channel and you believe that that is something that is right for them and they feel that it's right for themselves, then the information will come that you need to give them, because your higher self and your God presence, the presence of God around you when you're doing that kind of teaching, because it's actually spiritual teaching to teach someone to channel. It's a spiritual thing.
Absolutely.
And so you have to bring the spirit with you in your teachings, because without it there is not going to be any results.
Yeah, I've never taught anyone to channel, and I don't know that I necessarily want to. What I'd rather teach people is about the Ascension path, because if they're meant to do it, it may just spontaneously happen for them. But for my own journey, it was a good 10, 11 years of really cleaning house internally before the spontaneous channeling occurred for me. So,
well, let me tell you this. Before I started channeling, I had lost my job. I was in a bad place for a little while. But then I learned Reiki, and then I found out that I had healing abilities. And this really, and then I started meditating, and I started clearing out my system, and I became very positive from this very, oh, you don't want to know. But it was a very, very, very big change, and then I started channeling after that, 2 years later. So it took a couple years, but I was doing cleansing all the time. But I never even thought it once about channeling. Never even thought about it. Didn't know what it was. And it just happened. And then afterwards, I was supposed to have happened. They couldn't get a hold of me any other way. I started to tell people, I said, I just started channeling aliens, and I just told this to one of the guitar player from my rock band for many years. I was in a rock band for many years. Do you know what he said to me? Oh, I know that. You've been channeling my life all through your lyrics my whole life. And he goes, can I have a reading? I'm going, what? So I was very shocked, because many people knew that I was already doing channeling in one way, but I didn't know it. But they recognized it well before I ever channeled an individual or a being, but I was channeling information for them all through my life.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it.
Yeah, the vocabulary, the word channeling is actually used. People that artists work, channel musicians, the channel actors channel characters. So there is a common understanding to a certain of what connecting with anything, or stepping in that embodiment, bringing through information expression that way. So there's very sort of a certain level related in that way. This is people and understand how it is.
Exactly. It's amazing. Because I was channeling, he said, oh, every year another one of your songs would have a futuristic outcome. It was like you told my future through like 10 different songs, and then there was one especially that happened in 2011. We had been writing music since 1980, and at 2011, this one song, every word of the song actually came true and became reality for him. And it was a very esoteric song that couldn't possibly make any sense to anybody else, but it fit right into his life and was like perfectly described exactly what he went through in a 6-month period of time, and he was like freaked out. So
there's some echo in your guys' mic, and I could hear the echo.
In whose?
In Susie's microphone.
Okay.
Right, but it's picking up over here.
No, I could hear it.
Okay. How about over there? Is that better?
Yeah, it's better.
It's better over there. So one of the things I did want to mention, you said channeling is not for everyone, because everyone has a different path, but there is a connection that is for everyone on the path whenever they decide to move forward with that. And that is connecting with their own soul's wisdom. Some people assume that their ego is their soul and there's no connection to that. But the soul's wisdom is very, very key in moving forward on your path, spiritually and evolving.
Yes. Excellent. I believe that 100%. Yes.
And also frequencies. It's about frequency, and basically when you're talking to the ET and channeling, it's also about the frequency you connect with the ETs. I've noticed that for myself.
Yes.
Yeah. So, did you guys want to mention anything else about the channeling?
I think I covered my side, except to say that I was really surprised when I channeled, but I learned to develop it quickly because they let me know that it was something that they wanted for me. And so I felt driven to understand why it was happening and why I had this gift. And I feel very blessed that I was given it. It's been a beautiful and helpful and very enlightening part of my life. I feel very blessed.
Beautiful. Susie and Max, did you want to mention something?
Well, I'll just mention how it occurred for me. Before, like Jim, I didn't really know anything about channeling. And when I first woke up, I started writing sticky notes all around my home that I am the clearest, purest channel. Only love flows through me. The highest forms of love and light flow through me. I am a channel of love and light. Things like this. I would write down on sticky notes and put them all around my home. Not having any idea of this kind of channeling. I was just setting that intention that I am a channel of love and light because that's what I wanted to be. I just wanted to be loved, express love, and all of that. So fast forward 11 years later, I met an avatar in human form, which is pretty rare, and I believe that he gave me an activation just by being in his presence and some of the codes and information he shared with me. And Max asked me a question, and all of a sudden this information and answer was coming through, and I was like, I don't even know what this is, really. Like the stuff you were talking about, science, whatever, it wasn't like that. It was like, I don't know this information. how is this? What's coming through me? Who is this? And the answer was I was like, wow, wow. I'm humble. Wow.
So,
Exactly.
a lot of it is intention. A lot of it is intention.
Yes, and belief. Yeah.
Exactly. It's energies and vibrations and how that connects to each other and the importance of it in terms of just realizing what you're doing and how you're channeling and how important it is to use discernment as well.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that covers a broad base of the channeling and how that works, and just lets us know how important this is and what it is and how it works for everyone differently, and that it's all important in what we're doing with this channeling information, and hopefully giving people a better understanding of it and how it fits into our lives, and that it's more public now than it used to be before, because more and more entities and ETs are coming in, and the information is being shared publicly about this now.
And yes, I believe it will continue to integrate aliens and channeling, and aliens are integrating more into society through channeling and letting people know who they really are.
For sure. I agree with you on that. So Jim, I'd love to ask some questions for Takare, if that's okay with you, to go into the channeling to show people what it is and to answer some questions that were asked to be asked for this session.
Okay, I always do a small meditation before I bring anybody in. So give me a couple minutes here and I will bring Takar in. She's ready to come.
Beautiful.
Ileana, can I real quick check in with you for a time check?
Sure. It's 2:52.
Will we be? Will this be 10 minutes, or do you think this will go a bit longer, just so I can communicate with some people?
I think it will be a bit longer, more like 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Test. We're silent here.
Greetings, I'm Takar.
Hello, Takar. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you.
It is Ileana.
Nice to see you again, Ileana.
Blessings.
Blessings to you as well.
May I ask you a few questions?
Absolutely.
Where did the mermaids come from during the Atlantis time?
The mermaids were actually part of the Earth at that time, and they made friends with the Atlanteans and Lemurians. They are actually a natural part of the Earth, but they had starseed beginnings, of course, but they were not in that form when they were seeded on your planet, but evolved into mermaids.
What types of original species were they?
There are some species that are in the dolphin and whale areas of Pleiades and Andromeda where they came from. They brought the natural materials from these areas.
What do the mermaids look like?
They actually do not look exactly like what they are portrayed like in movies of your type. They are actually a little bit more fish-like in their appearance than human. However, they do have the fins and they do have the scales. They do have arms, but no legs, of course.
What has happened to the mermaids right now in the
They are
present
still
time on
alive,
Earth?
but their population is dwindling. They are only in the Atlantic Ocean at this time, off the coasts of Portugal and that area.
Are they healthy?
Not really.
What can
Just about 3 years, one washed up upon the shores in the Mediterranean, and scientists had a field day with this kind of find. And it was very publicly announced that they did find a mermaid, but many of the pictures that they showed were in a decomposed way, and it did not really show what they actually looked like. But
what
it
can
did
be
show that their bodies were part human.
what can be done to help the mermaids?
Right now, there is too much pollution in the water. The problem is that your society has dumped much toxins into the water, and their evolutionary cycle cannot keep up with this toxins that they have dumped into the water. So
Thank
it is
you.
actually a problem with different kinds of things that are affecting their skin. They have scale problems and different problems that some fish are having as well. But this is a very sad situation. And there is some help from other beings, but it is not being publicized. We cannot help them. We do not know how exactly. We have not developed anything that will help them.
Perhaps with our oceans, when they become clean, will that help the mermaids somewhat?
Yes, that will help the mermaid population. But it is dwindled down to several hundred, and that is all that is left.
Okay. We have some other questions.
Yes.
What are the elemental beings?
Those elementals are created for planets. On your planet, the elementals are fairies, and these are the names that your society gives them. Wood nymphs and things of that nature, elves. But they're actually on the planet to help the planet survive. They're there to help trees that are not doing well. They're help to take elements out of the earth that are not positive. They are there to make sure that some of the elements that are discarded are in areas that are highly sensitive are taken care of. They're also there to look after the waters and to take care of cleanliness there. Right now, their greatest concern is the Pacific Ocean, which has much pollutants in it and much radiation from the meltdowns from Japan's earthquakes.
Hmm. Another.
Go ahead.
Will the elementals still be present with us as we evolve?
The elementals are created and do not multiply, so therefore they will be with you during your Gaia's lifetime.
Beautiful. Another question that was asked is, what is the difference or relation between the Andromeda Council and the Galactic High Council or the Galactic Federation?
The differences between these kind of councils are more of a perception, meaning that they perceive different ways to either help the Earth or keep it in stasis, to continue the timeline or perhaps slow down the ascension for their own good. You see, they like to keep control of things, and therefore their perceptions of things are very different, just like you were talking earlier about different perceptions that different beings have of the Earth. This is the same with these councils. Their understandings of humanity can sometimes be very skewed, when you look at the Earth, you see violence and you see much negative things going on. But when you get to know the individual Earthlings, you really realize that there's much good and much positivity happening in many cases. And so therefore, that is the difference between these councils, their perception of how the Earth can be either controlled or helped. Most of the time, they do not really want to help as much as keep it into balance so that they can keep it in control and manipulate it from a distance. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that they're sending any beings down here to your planet, but that they are trying to keep things at a status quo so that they can have what they need from the planet. They do extract minerals and they do extract different things from the surface.
That was interesting. Confirmation of some sort. Another question that we have is what is going on in Tabby's star, the star that keeps on dimming? Is there a megastructure there?
This is information that should not be shared with humanity at this time. It is a megastructure, but we are still investigating what its purpose is.
Okay, thank you. Another question that came up, what is Nibiru and where did this planet originate from?
Nibiru, or Planet X, there are several different scenarios about where it is, but it is actually in the Andromeda sector. And Planet X is actually supposedly a planet that is orbiting your sun, but at a very, very elliptical angle, so that it only appears every 10,000 years or so. We cannot find this particular Planet X, so that particular information is untrue. But Nibiru is where the beginning of the Anunnaki are from. That is where they have come from, and Anunnaki means the merging of sky and land. And therefore, they look very humanoid, and they look very Homo sapien. They look like African beings, but they have been able to become part of everything in your Earth. They are similar to the Cabal, except the Cabal has the money and the power to build whatever they want. The Anunnaki are much more subtle, and they deal with the world in a very different way. They put out concepts, and as they put out these different concepts, they find that either Earth rejects them or accepts them. But as they accept their concepts, the Cabal is there to also give them a backing for this, because many of their concepts are negative. It is much more in-depth than that, but I will stop there.
Are there other species living on Nibiru than just the Anunnaki?
The Anunnaki are the ones that are on Earth. They call themselves something different on Nibiru. It is the Vensendi.
Are there positive beings living on Nibiru?
Yes, there are some positive beings on that planet. There is positive and negative influences, just like on your planet. However, the Anunnaki that are still here from their arrival thousands of years ago in Samaria are still here and still working a specific attitude on your planet. I do not know what other word to use.
And what is that attitude?
they would like to eventually take control. They have an agenda that is for them to take control, and they are very active in doing so. But they do not come out and say that it is them that is doing these actions. They influence others to do the actions for them.
Is there a way to stop them?
They are being stopped, yes. There are other species in your solar system at this time that is aware of their actions and what they are doing, and they have put some restraints on them.
Very good. Thank you. Take care.
Can I ask a question, Ileana?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
I've heard through several channeled sources that the Cabal has surrendered to the light. What is that situation from your perspective?
That is a fallacy. The Cabal is the most powerful influence on your planet. They have most of the money and most of the power. If they were to have surrendered to the light, your economy would have already have collapsed.
Why is this information coming out?
Because the Cabal is putting it out. They want everyone to think that there is no harm anymore, that they should not be feared, that they should be loved, that they should be taken care of. And they are actually deceiving the earth because they know that the collapse of the economy is coming anyway, and they would like to be in power when it comes back up. And this is their telling you that we are of the light now, so that you will not be afraid to let them take over when it does happen.
Thank you.
Is there any way to stop the Cabal?
Yes, there's many ways to stop the Cabal. And most of it is with the light worker energy. The light worker energy is so much stronger than you can possibly imagine. If you can bring it together and understand what you're dealing with, what one person has that is a light worker has the energy of 10 Cabal. So if you bring in all those positive beings together and unite against them, they can be overcome. But no one realizes how to do this yet. But that information is forthcoming.
So it's important to know your truth.
Yes. The light is so much stronger than the darkness. What happens when you shine a light in the darkness? It causes shadows where there's only small pockets of darkness. But if you shine the light in there, they're gone. So therefore, your light is so much stronger than you even know.
Beautiful. Thank you. Take care.
You're welcome.
Pleasure seeing you again.
It is a pleasure to be here.
Susie, did you have a question?
Yeah, you said the information on how to stop the Cabal is forthcoming. Is there anything that you could share with us now so that we can come together as light workers and really
I did share that each person's light is stronger than 10 Cabal, but they do not believe that quite yet. Humanity does not see their goodness as being overcoming of darkness yet. And that information of how to do that is coming with the Ascension. The information is slowly drifting into your reality, if you will. And it cannot be perceived until there are enough light workers to be able to overcome the Cabal. That this information of how to gather and how to force them out will become necessary. Do you understand
that makes sense.
Do you understand that?
I do. And
because right now your energies are scattered and they must come together.
Is part of the gathering together first, the gathering of all the parts of ourselves and integrating all of our soul aspects within our own beings first?
That is part of it. There will be enough that will finally do that, to be able to overcome the cabal. And it is coming soon, because people's awareness are now awakening. People are now becoming aware of who they are as individuals and as light workers, and how they can affect the world with the light and the positivity. This is all part of the Ascension, as you call it. But only one portion of it, of course.
So
Does
just
that make sense? I sense there is a question.
Max, go ahead.
Oh, I was listening. I was.
Oh, that is fine.
Okay, I guess it was coming from me. People knowing their truth and being awakened to the truth, that will help to defeat the cabal, even just normal people, not just light workers. Is that true?
Every person on the earth can be a light worker if they want to be. It is a matter of their belief systems and their intentions. If they put them together to work for the good and positive, then even a normal person is actually a light worker.
Beautiful. Does anybody have any more questions they'd like to ask to Care?
I'm wondering if you have any information on global currency reset and monetary reform, just anything that you can share with us.
Yes, there will be a time, it has been predicted by many, many sources, that the economies of the world will implode because they cannot survive in this way any longer. But the cabal is holding up the financial systems for as long as it takes for them to take control after it does collapse. They realize that the collapse is inevitable and they will not be able to hold it up forever. And so there will be a new set of rules, if you will, after the collapse of your economy. And hopefully they will not reinstate the money, because money does not work. The way that other societies are based and are survived and are grown has nothing to do with currency whatsoever. You see, with the development of currency, that becomes the almighty thing that must be had. Whereas other cultures have learned that that is the evil of their culture, was to have one specific thing that drives the culture, all the cultures of their planet. So therefore they diversified and made several things worth wanting and desiring, so that when they are coming up through the eras of their life, they do not have to depend on one thing. They can have a successful life by learning or creating or having something to do with helping or service. And it does not depend on their money situation. It depends on the quality of their service or their academia or their contributions. And so they aspire to greater things instead of just earning money.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
And hopefully the cabal won't go back into the money system. And
Well, the L, as you know them, are planning against them in many ways and putting many ideas into light workers and thoughts into politicians' heads that will help to develop a different society when that comes about.
I have heard that the L have plans to physically come down on the planet for a visit. Is that a possibility?
I am not sure.
Okay.
I do not know if it is. I know that they can possibly go backwards to the third dimension and to a third density. It's harder to go forward than it is to go backwards. You can make yourself more dense, but it's hard to make yourself lighter and survive. But they can possibly have the means to do that. And it would be a wonderful thing if they made a visit to your planet. But I have not known of any of their indications to do so at this time.
Okay, thank you.
You
Blessings
are
to you.
welcome.
Take care.
Blessings to you as well. Much love.
Much
Namaste.
love. Namaste.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for that. It was a blessing to talk to Takir again.
Oh, I love Takura. She's a sweetheart. Yep.
She is. She answered so many wonderful questions. And these questions kept coming up over and over in emails that I received.
Oh, really? Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So I thought I'd bring it today to ask these questions and to answer people really wanted to see this information and really
Good.
have it answered. So it's pretty good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And thank you guys. That was amazing.
I thought you guys were amazing.
Me
Thought you were
too.
wonderful.
It's a Lightworker Love Fest.
Yes. Amazing. Well,
Love you.
love you too, guys. Thank you so much. And that concludes our lovely event for
Okay.
today.
Have a great day. I'm so glad to have met you. Keep in touch, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
See you
Thank you,
later.
Ileana.
All right. Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye-bye.